I hope this video is going to serve as a benefit, a tool to any new person who's beginning disc golf and doesn't quite know what disc they should consider purchasing to start their bag. Last week I asked the viewers of the channel to give me some advice on tips for beginners who are just learning the sport and things that they can utilize that'll help them improve and see results. Overwhelmingly, the #1 piece of advice that was given to new players is to go out and find yourself a mid-range and a putter. You want to find the discs that are going to feel good in your hands. When you're gripping a disc, how does it feel? Does it feel comfortable? Does it feel like, oh, I have control of this disc? If you find a disc that feels really well for you, then you take that putter, you take that mid-range, you go out to the field, and your #1 goal should be, does my disc fly straight? Don't worry about how far it goes. Worry about, can I keep this disc flying straight? And you keep practicing your form, and you keep practicing throwing in the field until both your driver and your mid-ranges are going straight and you've got control of these discs. Then, and maybe then, you might be ready for a fairway driver. For me personally, in my bag, the #1 mid-range is going to be the Rock DX. I've got about 6 of them, and I take these to the field and I practice throwing these straight. I practice getting close to a target, but that's because I've got control over my disc at this point. I know I can throw it straight when I need it to. Once you've accomplished that, then you can start reaching for higher goals like, am I fading into the target? Am I being able to control the flight characteristic when I throw a hyzer disc? When I throw an Anheuser disc, does it land near the target? You can start worrying about that stuff later. In the very beginning, you want to throw it flat and straight. And just the only way to do that is just to keep practicing and throwing it over and over again. There is no substitutes. There is no shortcuts. Going out and doing your field work is really what's going to get you to improve. If you just want to go out and have fun with your friends, no problem. Still find yourself a good mid-range and a good putter. Practice throwing it when you play with them. That way you're able to kind of get yourself into a position where you're going to have a lower score than you would if you didn't practice at all. On top of that advice, a lot of my viewers gave suggestions on discs that they think is great to have in their bag. First of all, your bag doesn't have to be this giant backpack. You don't have to go out and invest a lot of money in a practice basket, tons of discs in a bag. I'm just fanatical. That's how I roll. But you can start off with a small little bag. Give yourself about, 2 or 3 different mid-ranges, at least 2 different putters. And if you feel like you absolutely need to have something that goes out there a little bit further, start off with the Fairway Driver, something that's very low arm speed. For instance, in my bag, I carry and will always carry a T-Bird. This T-Bird has a very low speed. It's a speed of 7, which means the lower the speed, the lower your arm speed necessary to get the best flight characteristics of this disc, what it's supposed to be throwing like. You want to start off with something low like a T-Bird. You might even want to consider going to something like a Leopard. It's a staple disc in my bag. These slower speed discs are not going to go 450 feet. They're going to go about 200, 250 feet, depending on how fast you can throw the disc. But you don't want to worry about this in the very beginning. You want to stick to your mid-ranges and your putters as much as possible. When you're ready to come out of that harbored shell, then you can go ahead and step up and grab yourself a fairway driver, something that's going to get you a little bit more distance. But by the time you've mastered throwing these straight, these are going to feel good for you because they'll be flying straight and you'll be seeing good distance and you'll feel confident. Then you'll go out there and play as often as you can with these. Just the whole point I'm emphasizing the lower arm speed is because one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first began constructing my bag was I went out and said, oh, yeah, well, Paul McBeth throws Innova, so I'm going to throw Innova, and totally I'll be throwing 600 feet by, definitely by next week, for sure. No later than next week. So I go out and I buy like a really big speed. This is a turn. It's a 12 speed, but I've had big discs in my bag that were like 14 speed, and they got no business being in there. I don't have a 14 speed arm. I can't get the best flight characteristics out of this disc, and most people can't. And if you're a beginner, stay far away from these. You don't want to be sold on the fact that it's a fast disc and it's supposed to go incredibly far. Yeah, when you're a professional and when you put in the work and practice time that professionals do. One of my staple discs in my bag that I refuse to go without, and you guys know me, I love dynamic discs, but I can't get rid of my Valkyrie. It feels so good. I have complete control of it. I've got about 4 of them in my bag. A Valk is a 9-speed. It's probably the step up, just a little bit faster than the T-Bird or the Leopard that I just mentioned. But this disc for me goes maximum distance and I feel the best out of it. I can keep it straight. I got most control. When I start to go above 10 is when I don't get the best flight characteristics out of a disc, because my arm speed doesn't go above 10 really. Make sure you have a solid foundation. The tree is only as strong as its roots. So you start off with a putter that feels good. Once you decide to practice and improve your game, go out and buy 7, 8, 9, 10 of the same putter, the exact same weight, the exact same putter, and go out and practice it for consistency. I've also done that with my mid-ranges, as you can see as well. By doing this, you're giving yourself the best opportunity to practice, improve your game, and make the most use out of your bag. If not, you're gonna end up with 20 discs and you only use 2 of them every time you play around. And then you're gonna go, why am I carrying around all these discs and I really only play with 2 of them? Well, that's because those discs don't fit your game. You just bought them because you were sold on the fact that somebody else could throw those a country mile. That's what's in my bag, peeps, and that's what's important to me to have, and it might be slightly different for you. What I'm gonna do now is just play a list of different discs that everybody has suggested, and I'm gonna try to include at least one from some of the major manufacturers you can take a look at and say, hey, if I like a Vibram disc, I can look at maybe this Vamp. If I like a dynamic disc, well, I might consider it an Escape or a Breakout. You know, if I like Innova, I might consider my Valk, like Dave said. Definitely want to look into getting those T-Birds and Leopards. You know, so depending on what it is you like specifically, you know, I got this DGA disc, you might consider a Rogue. When you start to go into fairway and drivers, you want to try to find something that is understable, something that's going to have a natural characteristic of starting off right for you and finishing left. Every disc is going to finish left at the end, but for beginners, in order to have more control, you're going to want to find a disc that is understable. That's why I mentioned the Valkyrie, because it is understable for me. It'll start off right and finish left, and that's how I get the most distance out of it. And if you want to find a long distance driver, fine, that's cool. Go for something that's going to be understable and give you more control. That way you're setting yourself up for the best opportunity to succeed.